Welcome back, everybody. We begin our report tonight from the mining sector, and Executive Director for Corporate Affairs and Sustainability for Asanko Mines, Frederick Atakuma, has called on mining firms in the country to prioritize development of mining communities. The mining sector in Ghana continues to earn billions of dollars, but these huge earnings are often made at the expense of communities. Speaking at the 4th year Management Day celebration of the University of Ghana Business School, Mr. Atakuma admonished that making corporate social responsibilities a priority in mining communities will help shore up national development.
We do have a project office located in Johannesburg, South Africa. Asanko is committed to responsible and sustainable mining, which ensures that we maintain a safe workplace, a healthy environment, and leverage our presence to have a beneficial effect on our communities while contributing towards the development of a vibrant economy for both current and future generations. The operation in Ghana is predominantly run by Ghanaians. In fact, out of about 540 employees, we have only 3 expatriates. It is in this regard that working in partnership with members of our community and the local government, we have developed what we call the Asanko Opportunities Cycle, which underpins our corporate social investments and is aimed at contributing towards achievement of a sustainable economy by focusing on the following 5 pillars. First one being access to education, where in partnership with another Canadian NGO, we're looking at literacy development in all basic schools in the Amansia West District of Ghana. We're establishing libraries, working with Ghana Book Trust and the Ghana Library Board.
The latest Responsible Mining Index compiled by a Swiss-based Responsible Mining Foundation has shown that mining firms AngloGold Ashanti Duaprim and Goldfields Ghana Limited have failed in the regular tracking and reporting of grievances of their workers and host companies. The Duaprim mine of AngloGold Ashanti Limited and the Takwa and Damang mines of Goldfields Limited scored 0 each out of a total score of 6. Now, Joy Business's assistant editor, Norvan Akwa-Hayford, has been going through the report. He joins me in the studio. Norvan, first tell us what the motive of this assessment is really.
Okay, so this report, which is put together, Darryl, by the Responsible Mining Foundation, looks at multinational mining firms across the world. This time around, they focused on 30 companies, which included these companies as Goldfields, Newmont, and then AngloGold Ashanti that we have in Ghana.
So what was the scope of assessment?
Okay, so they actually concentrated on 6 thematic areas. And if you look at the 6 thematic areas, you are talking about looking at economic development, and specifically they're looking at how companies contribute to national level socioeconomic development in producing countries, wherever you find yourself. They also looked at business conduct, how these companies demonstrated their commitment to ethical behavior and good corporate governance. And then they had the life cycle management, how these companies manage their impact throughout all phases of the operations, and the plan of post-closure viability wherever they found themselves. They looked at community well-being, that is looking at how they dealt with these communities and then ensure that whatever they did, also sort of impacted on the communities themselves. Now, the next one they looked at was working conditions, which is very critical, and it's one of the reasons why we've seen a lot of layoffs. You always see agitation within the mining sector by these companies. You also talk about the environmental responsibility, how they handled the environment as well.
Okay, and so we know for a fact, from what we've been reading, that AngloGold Ashanti Duaprim and Goldfields Ghana Limited scored 0 when it came to those areas. But we also know that Newmont fared well. Tell us about that.
Okay, so when you look at the results, it's amazing what you see and what you find over there. Now, when you look at, let's say, economic development, now the first 10 companies out of the 30 that they looked at, Newmont was as a third company that in terms of ensuring that whatever they were doing, the economic development issues that had to do with ensuring that people within the communities and even the country benefited was there. Look at business conduct. Newmont was the first, if you rank the first and out of the 30. So that is what you see. You look at the community well-being. Here you see Newmont at the second position. And then interestingly, Anglo Gold Ashanti comes at the fourth over there. Goldfields is sixth on that list in terms of that particular area. You look at the life cycle management, and Newmont was fourth. Over there, you don't find any of the Ghanaian companies. Working conditions, this time around, Anglo Gold Ashanti, you can say probably their working conditions is better.
Because I'm told we're running out of time on this one, let's answer the so what of this index. What does this mean that they're scoring low points for these companies?
Yeah, so what it means is that these companies need to do more, because when you talk of responsible mining, these are the key parameters that has been set to ensure that wherever you find yourself that you're operating, the community, get something out of you, skills transfer, locals, being empowered. All these things come into play. So it's not just about coming to mine, take the gold, and go away.
All right. Thanks very much indeed, Joy Business Assistant Editor Novan Akwahefo. I tell you what, it will be interesting to know how the mining firms also, mine workers association rather, respond to this index by the Swiss-based Responsible Mining Foundation. Thanks very much indeed. Let's move on to other news tonight. The Chief of Staff, Female Selpare, has called on businesses and civil society organizations to push for gender parity within the working environment. She stressed that this, in the long run, will enhance national development. She spoke to Joy Business on the sidelines of the Glitz Africa Female CEOs and Business Executives Breakfast Meeting in Accra. Karen Dodo reports.
Breakfast meeting forms part of the three-day event to mark the Glitz Ghana Women of the Year honors. Day one brought together influential women from various spheres of career disciplines, including politics, finance, and media. This created an opportunity for peer-to-peer networking and discussions on women's development and the ability to take strong leadership roles in the broader global economy and society. Among some key issues raised was the need to improve gender parity in the working environment, following recent research findings that show that women in the formal sector earn a daily average of 60 to 28 pesos, which is way lower than what their male counterparts earn. Chief of Staff Female Selpare explained that providing enabling environments for the growth of women will eventually translate to development.
So these are practical day-to-day issues that affect the life of people and also impact positively or negatively on the development of the country. So these are issues that they can also contribute to. Civil society, there are many challenges that they bring out all the time about the economy, about sanitation and so on. But these are soft issues that sometimes we gloss over. But I think it's the core. The core is making use of the human capital that you have in the country. A country where 52% are women. Suppressing them meaning you are suppressing your wealth.
Chief Executive of the BNFT News Network, Ida Dankwa, also called on government to incentivize businesses that create the enabling environment for women in business.
We should also be able to create some kind of incentives on a larger scale. So if I know that if I have a balanced, gender parity at a particular level, and I'll have even 1% tax cut, I will do it. Which means that there's an effort to get me to motivate an employer or an employer to get their female counterparts or female staff or managers to get up there, to get to a particular level. But it helps. Diversity helps.
The three-day event will continue with a She Mentorship Summit on Friday and climax with an awards night on Saturday, which will be held at the Labadi Beach Hotel. For Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Now, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Emmanuel Kofi, has described the current reductions at the country's ports as a blessing, which will yield the necessary results soon. The authority has begun implementing a new directive announced by the Vice President last week, which is expected to see some reductions on goods and services. Kofi Nti spoke to Joy Business after an interaction with traders. Here's more in this report.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia announced the new port directives as a measure to curb smuggling of goods and also to improve the cost of doing business at the ports. The Commissioner General, after admitting that the country will lose some revenue as a result of the reduction in benchmark value and a further 30% reduction in vehicle import duties, among others, also hinted that the situation will help to improve business flow at the ports. This, he noted, will be an additional source of revenue for the state.
What we are saying is that there will be a revenue loss, but the quantum may be expressible by the level of the growth in the goods that come through the system. So that to the extent that the goods are increasing in volume, it may minimize the loss that may be the giveaway. And to some extent, if it comes hugely, it may even be a blessing for revenue.
He spoke to journalists at the Abosokai market after a visit to the spare part hub. Meanwhile, the Customs Division of the GRA is urging the general public to take advantage of the 30% reduction on vehicle imports to check and pay the right amount of duties on their vehicles before April 30 to avoid prosecution. The Commissioner has also been urging dealers to ensure that the reductions reflect in pricing of their products.
Through the markets like we are doing, at that level, it's a lot of moral switching. And at the level that we are seeing the competition in the system, if all the people who are seeing reduction are reducing the prices of their goods, there wouldn't be any basis for somebody to maintain the high prices and become the only beneficiary. The competition should force the prices down.
Some dealers confirmed that the new directives have taken effect at the various ports.
Well, from the ports, let's take a trip to Washington, D.C., where we are hearing that Ghana is expected to end the year with a debt-to-GDP ratio of 62%. That's according to the IMF's Fiscal Monitor report released at the ongoing annual spring meetings. George Rafe has details in this report.
This was captured in the IMF Fiscal Monitor report that was released at the ongoing World Bank IMF spring meetings in the U.S. A careful look at the data shows that the debt-to-GDP ratio will grow by 4% at the end of 2019. Now, this could be described as one of the slowest growth that we have witnessed in recent times in terms of our total debt expressed as the value of our economy. But the IMF is asking government to be cautious about this, not to see this as them doing so well, because they have to take measures or put in place measures to ensure that they don't get to levels that could be described as threatening to the economy.
There has been progress on debt reduction, but there's a need to sustain those efforts. And the priority is really sustained fiscal consolidation and transparent financing to make sure that debt continues to decline. And in that context, the important efforts are needed to broaden the tax base, strengthen tax compliance, and tax administration. So debt is still at high. Ghana is still at high risk of debt distress, and interest payments, as you know, still exceed about 40% of tax revenues. So this is a large amount then that crowds out the ability to spend in other areas.
Even though the IMF currently classifies Ghana as a high risk of debt distress. But why should we be concerned or worried about the high debt to GDP ratio?
Debt is still at relatively high levels now, and there are risks then associated with contingent liabilities, with exchange rate depreciation. As you know, there were cleanup costs then for the financial sector in the past year, and exchange rate depreciation that contributed to small increases in debt in the last year. But so again, the message is sustaining that fiscal consolidation, transparent financing, so that debt dynamics are anchored in the medium term.
So that could be the impact when you look at the implications of a high debt GDP ratio on the economy and for you and I. But government has maintained that its debt profile, as soon as a medium-term debt management strategy would help improve the situation as you go on. Therefore, there is no need to worry. Well, even though government might be excited by this, the IMF believes that government still has to do more to ensure that the debt GDP ratio comes to levels that might be good for the economy. From Washington, D.C. at the spring meetings, this is George Yaffe reporting for Joy Business.
Well, back home, the Department of Data Science and Economic Policy at the University of Cape Coast is calling for a conscious effort on the part of government to make Ghanaians cherish and consume made-in-Ghana products. According to them, the over-reliance on foreign products at the expense of the Ghanaian product will make the cedi struggle no matter the intervention.
The exchange rate and the Ghanaian economy, general knowledge, causes, effects and the way forward was the theme the economic and data analysts deliberated on at the roundtable discussion at the University of Cape Coast. The analysts say they hope to communicate their suggestions and proposals to government to help them fashion out policies to make the cedi stronger among its peers. For Dr. Mark Amor of the Department of Data Science and Economic Policy, the issue is not only about value addition, but how to consciously get Ghanaians to consume locally made products.
Don't forget that once you prefer foreign goods to your local goods, you are not helping to grow local industries. And therefore, it has that rippling effect. Okay, so you find out in a general equilibrium setting, all the various sectors of the economy will be affected. And particularly because it's about import, your exchange rate will come under pressure. So we have to make that conscious effort. Trade and industry and Ministry of Information to carry out serious education so that people begin to appreciate what we have and to use them. And so you recall that during President Kufuor's era, there was this Friday where
a senior lecturer at the Department of Economic and Data Science, John Gachi, says the country's exit of the IMF program should not excite us, but should make us follow the laid down rules to become truly independent out of their control.
Even though we exit the IMF program, I would say it's an agreement that with an exit clause, so we have actually come to an end. But that does not mean that we are out of the activities of IMF, because we are a member of what we call Article 4, which defines membership of IMF. So what it means is that from time to time, IMF will come and look at our books and make comments about our behavior, whether we are going back to the old behavior. So it shouldn't gratify anybody to think that IMF was a burden to us, so we are now out of the clause of IMF, so we are going to do things. Let us remember that IMF has left with us rules and regulations. When we follow, I don't think that we can come back to a situation where we will be going back to IMF.
The analyst commended government on its policies like the Planting for Food and Jobs, the One District, One Factory, and a host of others that they believe can contribute to a stabilized economy. They had one caution, that government should be able to implement the policies very well and sustain it to make the economy buoyant. Richard Kwejenyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
In other news tonight, local oil producers at Joso in the Ashanti region have heaved a sigh of relief with the establishment of a modern extraction center to enhance their work. MTN Ghana Foundation funded the project at the cost of over 740,000 Ghana cedis to support about 200 people engaged in the enterprise. Chief Executive of MTN Ghana, Salom Adadivo, is elated about the prospects of this new factory, increasing the employment capacity from the current 200 to 500. Ohiming Teria has more.
The palm oil producers have endured years of manual processing due to lack of modern equipment. Naked fire, with attendant clouds of smoke at the site, were the lot not only of the workers, but teachers and children of a nearby basic school. Intervention by MTN Ghana Foundation brings the change as the new factory with a palm fruit stripper, steamer, clarifier and expeller is commissioned. Other components of the equipment is fruit digester, grinding mill and kernel cracker. Mr. Adadevo said at the commissioning ceremony, the plant is an acknowledgement of the huge potential of the palm oil business in improving the livelihoods of women.
We didn't only build a facility, we talked a lot about maintenance and sustainability. So the partnership with MBSSI is an example of continuing support. How do the women involved continue to develop skills and also expand on what we've started? So that's one element of support that we're giving. But we're also working very closely with Nana Joasehene, which is important because you need the local community to want to continue to do this so that the future generations would also benefit from this project. So absolutely, I think these two support mechanisms are important, and we ourselves, there might be phase 2, phase 3, we're not sure, but we'll continue to support in ways that we can. Absolutely, every project we invest in, it's important for us to continue to see value from the projects. So this will not be an exception. We will still come and inspect the project ever so often to make sure that they're using the facility well, it's been maintained properly, and that the investment we've put in place continues to provide value for Joaso and the surrounding communities.
The cost of the factory brings to 33 million Ghana cedis MTN Ghana's investment in health, education and economic empowerment in the last 10 years. Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah commended MTN Ghana Foundation for the initiative, which will go a long way to improve lives of women in the Joaso community.
The processing center, which comes with the relevant machines and training for these women, have also made provision for shelter for the women who before this project were operating in the open at the mercy of the sun and rains, thus impacting negatively on their productivity and health. We are indeed grateful to MTN Foundation for relieving these, our ladies, of this burden.
From Joaso in the Ashanti region for Joy Business Report, Ohiminteria reporting.